Lighting. Welcome, everybody. I don't know how my monitor's got all messed up, all jacked up. There we go. Good evening. Welcome to Monday's episode of A Flawed Man of God. I am your host, who almost wasn't here tonight. I almost forgot to let you guys know. We were supposed to have our first men's softball practice of the season, first and only, unfortunately. However, it's been raining a lot around here, and even though we've had 2 good days of weather, field's still very damp, and so the fields were closed, practice was canceled, and I am waiting to get the schedule. But like I said, Mondays will soon be soon be an off day, and what I'll probably do is bring back off-topic Fridays. In the meantime, if you don't know, if you haven't been here long, and remember off-topic Fridays, they happen after family time with me, the wife, the kids. We get together for family movie night and have good times together watching movies. We did The Sandlot this past Friday. It was awesome. We're doing Secondhand Lions this coming Friday. We'll see how they like. It was a big hit. Sandlot was a big hit with the kids. It was nice for me to watch it again, but I didn't realize, because it's been a little while. It's been probably 15, 20 years. I didn't realize the acting from the kids is sometimes bad, and it might be from the writing, but the reactions, the kids' reactions for things like when they had the chewing tobacco and got on the carnival ride, that kind of stuff, were 100% on point. And it's just a nostalgic movie about nostalgia, about back in times where you were a kid, you could go out and play all day and nobody needed to check on you, because the assumption was the assumption was you would be fine, right? And generally you were. And maybe today you would be, but now there's so many creeps out there. Who wants to risk it? I certainly don't. But it is that doesn't mean I don't miss that for my kids. That they uh can't go out and spend all day running amok outside. Which they can in my yard, but you know, not letting them uh, frolic throughout the hood and do whatever they please, which would be the case if the perverts weren't around. So, how's everybody doing? You have a good weekend? I had a good weekend. Like I said, we were getting ready for softball. I had even though I had a good weekend, I have had a stomach ache for the last 2 days, 2 evenings. Um, the friends group, my friends group, um, we went out to a very nice restaurant, very nice steak restaurant, uh, on Saturday evening. Steve Hawley's. No, not sick. Well, so Steve Hawley's uh, brother and I went out with our wives and our best friend's wife, and his wife, and we all went to this really nice steakhouse called Fleming's. I don't know if it's a chain. I don't think it is, but maybe it is. I don't know. It's kind of like Morton's or um, crap. I can't think of the name of it. Um, Ruth's Chris. Um, and I ate a lot, and I haven't been eating a lot, right? Because I'm doing the fast for Lent, which means you eat a little bit at breakfast, a little bit at lunch, and then you can eat a full dinner, right? It's like a snack meal. And so Saturday, I hadn't had anything but a bowl of Rice Krispies for breakfast, and I hadn't really eaten anything since, other than some popcorn that somebody had sitting out that I took advantage of. It was vulnerable, and that was around lunchtime. So about a handful of that. From that point, uh, once we got to the restaurant, I was ready to go. So we got well, I'm not going to get into what everybody got, but I had some calamari. I had some uh, pork belly. I had a little bit of my wife's French onion soup. It was really good, and I dunked the bread in the French onion soup because I like doing that. So I had some bread. Um, I had lobster Maine lobster mac and cheese, then a little bit of scalloped potatoes, which are that was the best out of all the sides and appetizers. That was the best. Um, I had the least amount of that though because I was already getting full by the time I stopped. My main course was a USDA prime 16-ounce prime rib medium, um, with scallops, seared scallops on top. And look, I am a sucker. I am a sucker for scallops. They're delicious. It's my wife's from out my wife's from out on the peninsula. They're watermen out there. We go to the seafood festival there almost every year, and it's fresh scallops right out the bay, like hours old catch, hours old catch, and that's fried. So this is like somebody took that scallop and instead of frying it, seared it. That's how good it was. That's my favorite. The freshest I could imagine it. That's what it was. And so I ate and I ate and I ate and I couldn't finish my steak. And I was mad about that because the steak was delicious. And I had to get dessert though. So dessert comes out, or say dessert menus come out, and I order creme brulee. I've never had creme brulee. before. Just every time it's out on the menu, I always want something else. And all the other stuff looked good, but buddy's ordering it. I'll order one too. Loved it. It might have been a bridge too far because I had a stomach ache already. But that's not. I mean, look, I get a stomach ache every time I get done eating at the Mexican restaurant. But the stomach ache never went away. Not when I got home. Not when I went to bed. Not when I woke up 3 times. It was still with me the next morning. And I had some leftovers. Obviously, I didn't finish my meal. My wife didn't finish her steak, so that got taken home with me. I am a leftover fiend, and so that day for lunch Sunday, boop, making it. Probably should have laid off the fatty meats after uh, taking them down. So anyway, I got a stomach ache last night too, and that hung around till this morning. So I don't know if I gave myself a mild case of pancreatitis or something, but I've been taking it easy today. But on the my wife's actually on the way home from a meeting with some Chick-fil-A en route. So I will be breaking my fast for some of that when he gets here. So um, that was my weekend, though. Great weekend, great time. I am incredibly blessed with friends. Um, the Lord puts people in our lives to have fellowship with, fellow believers, have fellowship with, to support you when you are having trials, when you are having difficulties, uh, for you to help them when they are having trials and difficulties, temptations, falls, obstacles, difficult times, and also have someone else to share the joy in blessings, share those times with as well. And that is my friend group. I cannot say we call it many things, but they are very close and very dear to me. So, um, it is it's great. It's great. I can't thank them as much as I thank you guys at the end of every show for tuning in. The chat, which is piling up, I know. And I know y'all want to get me to get to the Psalms, and I'm going to get there. But it's Monday, I got I got stuff to say. But as much as I thank you guys for all the contributions you do to the show, and you're all very, very special and important to me. This is this is a this is a class by itself. And as a guy who grew up, didn't have many friends, um, didn't have many friends, um, didn't think that was in the card. Something like this would ever be in the cards for me. Um, it's been something that I cherish deeply. So, um, yeah. So, great weekend. Great weekend. Awesome sermon this weekend too. If we were in the Gospels, if we were covering the Gospels, if we were close to covering the Gospels, I would love to put it on and talk about it. But just very, we've been the sermon series has been on Peter, and what both pastors have talked about, which is kind of the crux of the sermon series, is Peter's the average guy. The whole thing that I find that I say is compelling about the Old Testament. I mean, there's many things. The prophecy, right? The beginnings, the history, the wisdom that's shared in the Old Testaments, right? The preparations for Christ, the foreshadowing of Christ, the covenants, the special bond that's you see formed between God and Adam, God and Noah, God and Abraham, God and Jacob, God and Moses, God and David, so on and so forth. Those that just a continuation there. But what makes it just that extra bit of flavor that really makes you want to sit down and really read the Old Testament. Everybody thinks when a lot of people think the Old Testament is Leviticus and it's dry. And this used to be part of my old intro to the show. The Bible's a dry book of rules. There's rules, right? There's not actually that many of them when you compare it to the US code. If you look at the amount of laws in our nation and compare it to the amount of laws in Leviticus, it's not even close. Leviticus is based. Leviticus is very to the point. Hey, look, don't be a jerk. Honor God. Be bless, be thankful, bless others, be blessed. Right? It's not that hard. If you can just behave yourselves, it'll be great. You just follow these rules. Right? And but outside of that, I mean, you see in Leviticus even and all throughout the Pentateuch, people are um people aren't taking it seriously. And then there's punishment. But the spice, right? What draws you in is that the people are so relatable. You know people like these people. You look up to people like these people. There are your flaws are in these people. Villains, heroes, average people coming from nothing, rags to riches. It's all over the place. People put in high pressure situations, and nothing's more pressurized than getting a visit from an angel or the angel of the Lord. In some cases, wrestling with God, things like that. We're talking about on a God level pressure and rising to the occasion or being crushed by it. We see people like, I use the comparison, David rises to the occasion. David flourishes in that occasion, even though he makes a few mistakes. He flourishes in that in that scenario where Saul, his predecessor, is crushed by it. Long way of getting back to this. Peter is kind of the essence of that in the New Testament. New Testament lacks a lot of that outside of the Gospels. And you don't see Peter a whole lot outside of the Gospels. He's there. He's there in the New Testament. He writes some books, right? But a lot of the New Testament after the Gospels is a little bit of a history and a lot of founding of the church and how we need to conduct ourselves going forward. How do we need to conduct ourselves as a church, big church, little church, etc. And then there's Revelation. But yeah, that's so the sermon this week, the sermon this week on Peter and the sermon last week on Peter, just today it was fiery. My wife looked at me, she goes, "He's loud today, isn't he?" I was like, "He needs to be. He needs to be. It's Peter." We're talking about someone that I relate to. I want to be the guy who no spoilers to you folks who haven't been in the scripture where we're going, which we still got a long ways to go. But it was excellent. It was well done. It was the way a sermon should be. So that was good. And that always gets me fired up. So what's going on, everybody? Thad the Man, interesting report. Ian Rappaport, the Bears never shop Fields. I haven't been paying too much attention to football. Baseball's getting started, so I'm all on that. Did they release him? Matt Felty's in the chat. Good evening, sir. Alex Moore sick again. It was a little touch and go there for a while, Alex. Todd Hennig, what's going on, buddy? Todd Hennig is a buddy of mine at the church that I'm attending, and a fellow partner in crime on the softball league. We play on different teams, but he's the kind of he is the kind of person I enjoy seeing on the other side because I know it's going to be a good, fun game. Uh, that's the way church softball should be. Matt Felty says, nice meal. Sorry you couldn't handle it. Unfortunately, I just lost 15 pounds of beef and 3 pounds of bacon. No, another freezables. To know if the door wasn't shot or if it's pooping out testing cubes right now. Yeah. You want it to be your own stupid fault you left the door open because it's a lot less expensive. But nobody likes throwing away meat, especially these days. In this economy, Angie Garcia, welcome. I don't think I've ever seen you comment before, but welcome to the show. Hopefully, you're still sticking around and you didn't get chased off by my small talk. Even those, and this is talking about my friends group, even those who are not believers, to allow us to see how he is truly working on our behalf. Yes, absolutely. The Lord's works do not stop whether you believe in him or not. And you can, as believers who have friends that may not be believers, right? You are an example. Great example for me is me and my wife. When we married, she did not believe. And maybe um maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I, that's a dangerous thing relationship for me to have gotten in. I'm glad I did. Because she is saved now, but your faith, your actions are a reflection of to others of God, and they see in us what they expect to see in faith. So make sure you couch to them. It's like, look, I suck. That's why I go to church. Um, but when you see me killing it out there the right way, that's me doing the Lord's work. That's me doing it the way God wants me to. But yes, 100% right, Angie. Even those who are not believers. Steve Hawley you don't he's not watching. You don't know that, but yeah, it's already longer than 4 minutes, so he wouldn't be watching. He's not watching, so you don't have to kiss up to him. Hey, doesn't matter. He's worth talking about how good of a dude he is. The food was great. Todd Henning saying, brothers and sisters in Christ are priceless. Yes. Yes. I mean, Christ got up on a cross for us. And I can't think of anything more priceless than that. And that's what he offered up for us. Thad said, Matt Felty, that seems that Numbers 22 describes the angel of the Lord as an adversary. The same Hebrew used in Job. Yex is here. What's going on, sir? Where are we? We are at the beginning of the show. Oh, they did not release Fields. Today is the first day of free agency. Oh, okay. Thad said, seems to me if they were going to get rid of him, they would have shopped him. I don't know. It's a weird situation. I'm not sold on Caleb Williams, but that's another. I kind of check out on football now once the offseason starts because it's baseball time, and I am invested in baseball. Angie Garcia is still here. Good. Yes. Look, promise. When we get into Psalms, it's gonna be enriching and fulfilling. Yex said, I found that just being a good and holy friend brings people to God. Bingo. Experienced this with a few friends. Yes, I've been told this before. Todd said, interesting. God puts you with her for a reason. Yes. That's what she'll say. She'll say. I try not to take credit for that. I will take credit for other things. But she knew me as just this stubborn guy. But I think that I do think that example, I think she's right. That example mixed with becoming a parent and witnessing life or just brought forth, that's when you see that and when you experience that. I don't know how you don't believe. It's just amazing. That's in the two powers of heaven hermeneutics. Hermeneutics. I hate saying that word. The angel of the Lord is understood to be Jesus. Yes. Yes. A lot of people are in there. So, Yex said you can't be a cage stage in public. It never goes well. You can do it on, on Twitter. Oh, wait. Twitter's a cesspool. Never mind. You're right, Yex. Matt said the man Balaam's donkey encounter versus Job. I'll have to get back to you on that. We'll talk about that later. All right, Jenny ELJ is here, and we are all caught up. So we are going to talk about some Psalms, right? Some Psalms. Glad that we're doing tonight. I love starting the week off streaming, but again, softball's going to get in the way of that, so we'll bring the off-topic Fridays back for the spring and some of the summer, and that way we can still get some time together. But tonight we are, look, can y'all believe it? We are almost 2/3 of the way through Psalms. We will be crossing that two-thirds mark sometime this week. We'll do Song 96, Psalms. Wait, hold on. What are we doing tonight? Psalms 97 and 98, which means I'm on the wrong page. And then Psalms 99 and 100 tomorrow. That's a good time. That's a good time. And then we'll be a third of the way through. And it's been just points of reflection. Psalms has been something of just a refreshing stroll down holy poetry. There's a lot in here that encompasses much of the Old Testament. In fact, you can think of this, or the impression I get from reading Psalms, all of the Psalms in Psalm, is that if you take the Old Testament and combine it and make it into and put it in poetic form, you get what we've read in these different Psalms. We've heard them talk about creation. We've talked about the fall of man. We've talked them refer to Israel, and even last week the blessings that God put forth during the Exodus, and the Israelites' inability to live up to their part of the covenant in any measurable way. We see all sorts of references to Christ. We see wisdom. We see joy. We see sadness. We see apprehension. See all these things that we've already read about, and prophecy that we haven't gotten to yet. A little bit of prophecy. There's been some prophecy, but we haven't gotten to the books of prophecy yet. And I think even we've crossed, had a couple of kind of Job-like references. It's been great. 2/3 of the way. And I know it's taken us a while to get through this, but it's been an excellent couple of Psalms read every night that we've done it. And so we are going to continue that tonight. All right. We're doing the King James version tonight. We've been doing King James and throughout Psalms, just because it just has that poetic form to it, I think, that goes with each Psalm pretty well. A song of praise to the sovereign Lord. The Lord reigns. Let the earth rejoice. Let the multitude of isles be glad. Clouds and darkness surround him. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. A fire goes before him and burns up his enemies round about. His lightnings light the world. The earth sees and trembles. The mountains melt like wax at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the Lord of the whole earth. The heavens declare his righteousness, and all the peoples see his glory. Let all be put to shame who who serve carved images, who boast of idols. Worship him, all you gods. Zion hears and is glad, and the daughters of Judah rejoice because of your judgments, O Lord. For you, Lord, are most high above all the earth. You are exalted far above all gods. You who love the Lord hate evil. He preserves the souls of his saints. He delivers them out of the hand of the wicked. Light is sown for the righteous, and gladness for the upright in heart. Rejoice in the Lord, you righteous, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holy name. It's cliche at this point for me to say it's powerful because everyone, but Psalms like this slap, as the kids say. This one is good. Is good. Yes, I'm interested. It is. How does this line up with the Septuagint that you read from? Um, I'm sure. I'm sure you're getting a. Yeah, they do. Um, I'm sure that yours gives a similar impression, but um, yeah. Going through this. Oh, it's basically the same. I imagine. I mean, this one. This one doesn't leave a whole lot to the imagination. The Lord reigns. Let the earth rejoice. Let the multitude of isles be glad. You almost feel like he's talking islands like continents. The multitude. Let the world rejoice. The Lord is king. Christ is king. God is Lord. Clouds and darkness surround him. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. Obviously, just the identity. We've seen psalms like this before. Like I said, they're all really powerful, but this is the image that we're being given. The Lord is holy. The Lord is truth. The Lord is all things that are good, which is righteousness, justice, power, right? In the hands of the uncorruptible, which is God. A fire goes before him and burns up his enemies. I like this part. Round about. Sounds almost southern. It sounds almost like a southerner talking. It burned up his enemies round about. Yex says verses 2 and 3 are sung at Christ at the 2 and 3 are sung at the feast of Christ's presentation in the temple, and some other verses are sung on Palm Sunday. Feels good on that one. I feel like that's appropriate. The fire goes before him and burns up his enemies round about. Look, enemies get punished, right? There is a war. It has been won by Christ's resurrection. But they're still fighting. They're still getting punished. It's not going to end well for them. His lightnings light the world, the earth sees and trembles. The power of nature is something that God has put in place. We talk about the majesty of going out and seeing things, but a storm. Being in a storm, that's just feeling that power. That's a fraction of what being in the presence of the Lord might be like, especially if he's not very happy with you. The presence of the Lord, I suspect this connects to the second coming. That's what, just like kind of like I said, there's so much in here. Yes, I'm not sure if you can pull Christ out of every psalm, but I do think there's I'm open to being wrong on that. because I've seen it so in so many of the Psalms that it might as well be. The mountains melt like wax at the presence of the Lord, and at the presence of the Lord of the whole earth. The heavens declare his righteousness, that heavenly host, and all the peoples see his glory. The truth is out there. My failings in my when I have moments of weaknesses in my faith, as far as, doubt that my faith is well placed. Um, I've told you about this. I'm just my greatest fear is not, even as a parent, not something happening to my kids. My greatest fear is that I'm wrong about my faith. And that is something that Satan uses to prey on me. I deal with it. Um, but you know, that's that's been my worry. Um, for well over 10 years now. That has just been something that has been a source of fear, in me. And but the evidence is right there in front of us. All the peoples see his glory. Let all be put to shame who serve carved images, who boast of idols. Worship him, all you gods. Talk about divine council references throughout Psalms. Those who have, those who have fallen, demons, those who would either put their own image as they see themselves, as they want to be worshiped like the Lord, or those who just make up something for people to worship so that they can cause them to stumble. Well, we're going to read that in a minute, Yex. um, any image of something that will cause people to stumble and not focus on the Lord. The Israelites in general seemed, for some reason, very easily tempted away from God, who was right there performing miracles. And even if we see, look, even if we have strong activity from demons, they're doing things, none of them delivered the Israelites out of Egypt. None of them parted the Red Sea. None of them put a pillar of fire in the sky. None of them dropped manna from heaven. None of them established a covenant with the Israelites. None of them did any of that stuff. They tempted them with stupid crap and great evils, like was done by the Canaanites before God spit them out of the promised land to make way for the Israelites. Deeds were done. And that continued, unfortunately. While the Israelites inhabited the promised land as well. Sad. Sad. Veritex. Welcome to the show, Veritex. Good to see you. I had to search for it when I didn't see it in front of YouTube today. It should always be here. Always be here. Deliverance is here. My great wife has brought Chick-fil-A. The Lord's chicken. Huh? It's right. No, behind you. All praise my wife. All praise the Lord. It is well in my stomach. So, Thad said the Elohim are around too. everything. It's all around us, right? We don't see it as much anymore, but they were definitely active back then. But even if they were active like that, what they were doing for the Israelites, it almost seems, and I don't know how many of y'all remember. Um, unfortunately, I grew up on Disney movies, Disney cartoons, Disney, and I don't know if this was part of the original Pinocchio, but the part of Pinocchio in the movie in the cartoon when they go to the island and they turned into jackasses, basically. Um, that's when I see, when I think of Israel, that's what I think of. I think of the kids going to the place, going to this great place where they can do all they want, and none of what they're doing is wholesome or right. They are, um, they're just doing whatever they're not supposed to do, but they think that it makes them better. They think that or they think that it's what they want. Think that this is some free love. And what happens to them? They descend into degeneracy and chaos, and they are doomed, and they are harvested. And like I said, I don't know if that's the point of Pinocchio to illustrate, you know, Satan getting you. But that's certainly what I get out of that. And it's certainly what I see. And it's not just the Israelites. The Israelites is convenient because that's what's in the Bible. That's what we're reading about. That's what they're talking about. You can walk outside and see it. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. And no, unfortunately, this is a dig at the libertarians. God's not a libertarian. He has rules. But they're very basic and easy to understand. Difficult to follow at times when we're presented with temptations. But there isn't this lawlessness. Um, God will build the roads, though. God will build the roads. um, Jenny says, you do something very special almost every evening, reading, sharing scriptures, and it helps me personally. So thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad. Like you, you've had a lot of great words recently about this. You, Nico, Emmanuel Osorio, you guys talking to me about things. Um, I need to check up on Porcupine. Meant to reach out to him. I've been off social media for Lent, so I haven't been on here. But um, I'm glad that we're all here for each other, not just me putting it up here. Yek said that I'm listening to this audio book called Lord of Spirits, not the podcast, and it's so good. It goes through all the stuff you could ask for in regard to the Elohim Leviathan Behemoth. It's like $13 or something, but it is for sure worth it. If it's on Audible, I'll get it. That's kind of the point. Egypt and Moses demonstrating that God is powerful, and then Bene Elohim, not to be confused with the Bene Jesuit, Bene Gesserit. Yes, the gods who were put over nations used to subjugate the people into false worship. Then Christ defeated these demons, but they never stopped deceiving. Now it's all about worshiping yourself. Yeah, why not? Why worship somebody else? Look, eternity's a long time. Why worship me for now when I got you? When once I can get you to worship yourself, and then I got you all while you're completely in damnation, right? Demons aren't all knowing. They're not, but they know enough. They know enough, and they've learned. Yeah, I doubt the demons care what you worship as long as it isn't the Lord. Yeah. All right. Where were we at? Oh yeah, let all be put to shame those who carve images, who boast of items, worship him, all you gods. Zion hears and is glad, and the daughters of Judah rejoice because of your judgments, O Lord. Based Israel does these things. The Davids do these things. The Elijahs and the Elishas, they do these things. Samuels, they do these things. Josiah's do these things. The Deborahs do these things. Esther's do these things. Just to make sure the ladies know, there are examples in the Bible of obedient ladies as well who are righteous. And what we haven't gotten there, and it's not much of a spoiler, Mary. Both Marys. Mary the mother, Mary Magdalene. There you go. For you, Lord, are most high above all the earth. You are exalted far above all gods, as he should be, because they're not really gods. It's evil incarnate, literally evil incarnate. You who love the Lord hate evil. Just talking about that. He preserves the souls of his saints. He delivers them out of the hands of the wicked. The Lord will. No, that's why I gave a bit of a look here when I read this the first time around. He preserves the souls of his saints. I guess the perseverance of the saints. It kind of just came across for the tulip fans around there, or for Saint Augustine fans, the perseverance of the saints. He delivers them out of the hands of the wicked. That's right. And there's your Trinity reference right there. Because I'm not gonna say that's a Christ reference. That's all three. It's all three in the Trinity there who play a part in that. Light is sown for the righteous, and gladness for the upright in heart. Rejoice in the Lord, you righteous, you righteous, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holy name. And all the people said, Amen. Amen. What a great psalm. And again, I'm being cliche when I say that, but again, this is why, look, 150 psalms. There's a lot of them. But and a lot of these things say a lot of the same things. They say it a little bit differently. Sometimes they say it in very similar manners. But it's uplifting to read it. It's uplifting to hear it. It's uplifting to say it. It's uplifting to feel it. It's comforting. Some of them are comforting. Some of them are, lots of them are relatable. Psalms aren't miserable. They're not depressing. Who reads this and is depressed? I'll take that shield out, find my army sword. Go fight demons with it. A psalm of praise. I'm sorry, a song of praise. We're on 98. A song of praise to the Lord for his salvation and judgment. A psalm. Yes, that's why it's in Psalms. Oh, sing. I'm sorry. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have gained him the victory. The Lord has made known his salvation. His righteousness he has revealed in the sight of the nations. He has remembered his mercy and his faithfulness to the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. Shout joyfully to the Lord, all the earth. Break forth in song, rejoice, and sing praises. Sing to the Lord with the harp and the sound of a psalm, with trumpets and the sound of a horn. Shout joyfully before the Lord, the King. I'm gonna have to send this to my friend as well. So Like I just, you know, let's see. Psalm 98, 4 through 6. Non-instrumental Christians on notice after this. Let the sea roar and all its fullness, the world and those who dwell in it. Let the rivers clap their hands. Let the hills be joyful together before the Lord, for he is coming to judge the earth. With righteousness he shall judge the world, and with and the people with equity. God's equity, not the government's equity, by the way, guys. A little bit of difference. Um, Sorry, I got sidetracked there. For some reason, I thought I was doing my second read through and not my initial read through. I'm sorry I broke that up. That's my apologies. It's Monday. I'm out of practice. Forgive me. But this is the other one was powerful in how it was talking about the majesty of the Lord, right? This is powerful when we're talking in joy about our salvation. The idea trumpeters. Um, this is powerful in that we know that through our flaws, even in spite of our flaws, in spite of our sins, in spite of our disrespect, and now all of those things, we have salvation, we have praise, we have justice, we have equity, even in judgment, but there is grace, there is love for us. What's going on, Lucy? You are late. It appears you're here and you didn't get the memo about daylight savings, which we're still doing. I don't know. I thought we were supposed to end all this. I thought we were supposed to end all that. Anyway. Sing to the Lord a new song. Well, some of these psalms have been a little repetitive, like I said, but they're all great. Look, I grew up with grunge music. Still listen to it. I still enjoy it. A lot of it sounds the same. It's still fun to listen to. Same thing here. Of course, it never gets old to praise the Lord, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have gained him the victory. The Lord has made known his salvation. His righteousness he has revealed in the sight of the nations. And here is what Yex is talking about in they read in the Orthodox Church on things like Palm Sunday. Here we go. He has remembered his mercy and his faithfulness to the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. Shout joyfully to the Lord, all the earth. Break forth in song, rejoice, and sing praises. This, I forgot to say, what else is this thing? This is all prophecy. This is a psalm that literally is prophecy in psalm form. Christ's entrance to the temple as a child. I'm excited about that one, that part too. But when you think of what God uh, has done for us and what this is pointing to, What a great passage for the church to read on Palm Sunday. Great. Well, how appropriate and how awesome that it's coming in the Old Testament because we know, because we know. Shout joyfully to the Lord, all the earth. Who wouldn't after? Oh, wait, I already read that part. Sing to the Lord with the harp and the sound of a psalm, with the trumpets and the sound of a horn. Shout joyfully before the Lord, the King. I mean, if 3 and 4 doesn't make you want to do that, maybe you're maybe you're Presbyterian, non-instrumental Presbyterian. As the meme goes, everybody's singing and praising everything. The Presbyterians, nobody here is serious enough. It's a great meme. But we talk about non-instrumental folks who think that it's interesting to hear where it got its start. But the church should have moved on from this years ago. As soon as we set the culture, the instruments can come back. It's okay. There's nothing in Leviticus about God not liking musical instruments. Right? Right? Let him sing. I know again. Most contemporary Christian music I don't like. But there are some that I like. Very few. And a lot of stuff that is kind of not in the mainstream that's really good. It's really good for me. For me. Other people, it's different. But it's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with the music, some instruments and worship. Let the sea roar and all its fullness, the world and those who dwell in it. Let the red livers clap their hands. Let the hills be joyful together before the Lord, for he is coming to the earth to judge the earth. With righteousness he shall judge the world and the peoples with equity. All right, let me get through this. The song "Close the Door" that I posted is almost a psalm. It's very depressing. It's not a psalm yet. I don't think I've listened to it yet. Sad. Veritech said jazz legend Maynard Ferguson once said, when asked why he chose his instrument, the king of all creation always gets announced by a trumpet. Who wouldn't want to be a trumpeter? Good point. Good point. Yes, trumpeters on top. Steve Hawley with the amen. Amen. Lucy says, I have learned something yesterday, that the best way to lead someone to Jesus is not to. Depends on the person. Pushing someone towards any path makes them push back. Better to tell them what you believe and leave it at that. It depends on the person, but I think, yes, in general, but it's like we need to set the standard for the culture, right? This is the way that we're going to live. This is our expectations, whatever. You can choose whether you think it's right or not. But regardless of whether they agree or not, doesn't change the truth. They can make their decision. We can brush the dust off of our jackets or off of our feet or however it goes. And but if we want to try to keep the culture pure or try to keep the culture somewhat good, we have to control it a bit. But that includes us living the way we preach, practicing what we preach. Lucy, the best evangelists never do street preaching or apologetics. I like apologetics. I think that there is a great place for apologetics, but I think apologetics is best done internally. What we have not done is prepare our youth to go out in the world. And I don't know about this on the Orthodox because I don't know many people who grew up in the Orthodox Church, but I know a lot of non-denominational kids who have fallen by the wayside. But a part of it has become they go out in the world, and the world tells them, "Oh, yeah, you believe in God. Well, what about this?" And they throw out something, and it's usually something dumb, or it's usually something emotional, tied to an emotion or something like that. But they get caught up in that. They're not prepared. They have not armed themselves with knowledge of what the church is, why it exists, what we believe, and kind of how to defend that. I think apologetics has um, great value, and it can be used in a public forum, but it's best served inside. Because if we're not um, teaching our kids how to defend their faith to the unbeliever, then not only are we not preparing them to evangelize and spread the good news because they can't even defend what they would be saying, but we can't teach they that's we don't even give them the tools to defend themselves. They're in the wild, caught in the wind. And that's not some place you want to leave somebody who is 18, 19, 20 years old. Or think of it even this way, 15, 16, 17. Or where maybe it's all at already now, 12, 13, 14. When is the world trying to teach your kids that all the things that God thinks are good are bad, and all the things that God says are bad are okay? Just love is love. Do whatever you want. What feels good, right? Speak your truth. Blah, 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 blah. Get that heresy out of here. Lucy said that everything else shall come to them later when he, the Lord, wishes to reveal himself. That's a little predestination-y. Not going to bring you down on that. But it's very much in the line of you never know when that you can give them, you can lead them as much as you can. You can't force somebody, and you don't want to force somebody as much as you want to, but you can't force somebody. Um, they have to come by it honestly to themselves, and you never know when that seed's going to sprout. You do what you can, but there's a limit. Yex says, to be honest, in Orthodoxy, we used to have liturgical diversity where some groups did use instruments and some didn't. But politics meant that the whole church copied the Greeks, and now we don't do instruments. I don't like that. Yex continues. I don't like that. I like how it used to be, where every culture had their own liturgy within limits, of course. Yes, and that's kind of one of the things I like about the Orthodox Church is kind of how it's big. It's a big tent like Catholicism, but it's got individual flavors. Whereas that's not really the case. You just have Catholics, you have cafeteria Catholics, you have C&E Catholics, you have Jesuits, and you have the ones in South America that worship Pachamama. Not all of them down there do. You can ask Joel. It's fine. But that's one of the things I always like is interesting. I think there's Greek Orthodoxy, uh there's Russian Orthodoxy, which I'm reading about right now with Ivan with the different Ivans and how Moscow is supposed to be the fourth Rome. It's very interesting, and just in my readings right now that's where I'm at, and it's kind of cool. Just listening to it, I was like, Moscow's a miserable place, especially in the winter. So no, I don't think that's the first. That's going to be the fourth Rome. I don't know why. I mean, I guess that's just Russ pride right there, but yeah. Lucy says, I find using parable to be quite effective using various things that would be used on a secular level. Yeah, it's almost like Jesus knew how to communicate to people in the most effective way. Parables are great. Thad the man, the instruments in Morning Has Broken is just so amazing. It really brings you in touch with God. Hating to sound so la la, but that's the best way to describe it. It's fine. I know what you mean. Just be the light of the world. If they come, they come. Talking to Lucy. That's Dad talking to Lucy. Yes, I also like apologetics, but I don't think it's effective for the average hard heart unbeliever. No, it's not. There's a different, but usually there's a significant emotional event that ties them into believing. Steve says they also really do that. I don't know what that context. I think that's the I don't know. Thad said that's sort of the thrust of the videos I heard on the death of the new atheist movement. It forced apologetists to up their game. They needed to. And there's a lot of good apologetics out there. And you can, and as like I said, I'll tell you that Twitter is a cesspool, but there's a lot of good apologetics on Twitter when you just listen to average guys out there be real. Again, Christian Mario, who I love listening. You can catch some from him or in his mentions sometimes. Um, there's good places to find it, and there's good people out there to get that from. It's just like, oh yeah, that's why it makes sense. Just putting it in there. Like, Lucy said, it's better to open a conversation with an unbeliever as if you were talking to a believer. They are no different than us. Are they? Just kidding. They just haven't met my father yet. Patience and virtue by the way of action. I like that, Lucy. Make your actions speak louder than words and show them what being a Christian looks like by acting like it. Well, yes. Oh, yeah. About people trying to make God good or yeah, good things bad. Yes, they already do that. But that's what I was saying. At what age are they, or what age are they being really introduced into that on an overt level? I don't know yet. I don't not on an overt level. I mean, it's even getting to the kids, but you can take away stuff like the just the thrust of sexual identity and just sex in general on kids and homosexuality and all that stuff on kids even at a elementary level is there in that's why we got rid of Disney. Um because that kind of crap was going on and you couldn't stop it. They just weren't going to stop it. So it's like, okay, yank it, pull the plug, whatever. I'm not going to expose my kids to it and I'm going to teach them that it's wrong. But like all the other stuff, when did they start paying attention to what's cool and what's good and that kind of stuff? I don't know. I don't know. I live in a relatively conservative part of America, socially conservative part of America. So I don't know what it's like outside of my bubble in this case. So, but I know that it's out there. And I know and I'm thinking they're going for the middle schoolers. So that man that said there was one woman, I forgot her name, who was an ex-Muslim and a leader of the new atheists. She was asked to describe what she would want God to be like. She converted because of that. Yeah. Well, as I learned, Muhammad initially thought he had been visited by a demon, and his wife convinced him that it wasn't. If only you'd gone with your gut, Muhammad, you wouldn't have done this thing you did. But it all goes back. Joseph Smith, Muhammad, different sides of the same coin that is legal tender of the devil getting people to do things thinking that they're divinely inspired. and you can just look at what they do and understand they're wrong. Yak said, we homeschool, and this stuff is crazier than I thought based on what my little sister is telling me, especially depending on where you live. Yeah. Sending my kids are going to a Christian private school once they get to middle school. Elementary school is okay for now. My youngest, she might not ever go to public school. She might stay in Christian private school from uh, preschool all the way to graduation. Lucy said, my state is red and I see rainbow flags in the classroom still. So, well, it's politics. What I was saying, politics is local. I'm talking about like on the county level. All right. Well, we're far removed from Psalms, but I enjoy the talking. Let's close it out. I've got, oh, you live in Michigan? Well, there's a heavy Islamic portion on that, so. All right, guys. I've got chicken to eat. I've got I've got chicken to eat. It's Monday. You guys have been awesome. Very active chat today. The chat has been consistently very active over the last month or two. It's been awesome. Give yourself a round of applause. Extra accolades for you guys. It's Southern Indiana. Oh, I mean, I don't know the Midwest all that well, but I mean, I'm assuming Southern Indiana because it's close to West Virginia. It's pretty conservative. But yeah, you'll see them. Don't see it all that much around here. So, all right, to wrap things up, Lucy, Jenny ELGA, Yax, Thad the Man, Steve, Veritax, Matt Felty, Angie Garcia. I don't know if you're still listening, but it's good to have you in here. Thank you for the comments. Mr. Hennig, I'll be seeing you around probably on Sunday because that's what I usually see. Anyone else? Alex Moore. And that's it. That's chat tonight. Guys, thank you for being part of the chat. Thank you for being great. Yes, Lucy. That I agree with. That's all of it. Well, that's kind of like us as Christians. We're faithful until we're not faithful. We're faithful until it's not comfortable sometimes to be faithful. I thank you guys in the chat for contributing, for making this show that much better, which is measurable. For being there for me, for being there for the rest of the audience, for being there for each other. You're awesome. And thank you. As always, thank you from the bottom of my heart. To everybody listening and not commenting because you don't want to or you can't or whatever, it's okay. I encourage you to, but I'm just glad you're coming in and catching what you can, and that what I have to say has you coming back night in and night out. That's great. For everybody who is catching this on replay, I'm sorry I missed you. I'm glad you're watching, and I hope to catch you live sometime. Everybody have a great night. We got a good week ahead of us. Have a great night, and God bless.